Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to the Diet Diaries. It is Monday, June 15th, and I'm recording this. The Knicks have won the 2026 NBA championship for the first time in 53 years. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see me wearing my Knicks gear. It was fucking lights out. Amazing. I have been a Knicks fan since I was a teenager. Danny, my husband, is a diehard Knicks fan, probably 1,000 times more than me, and since a younger age. And so Ben has been raised a Knicks fan and has been going to Knicks games since he was 7 years old. So has been an unreal experience watching them do this. This is not just winning a championship. There's so much that's a part of this. And I talked about it on Instagram, and I won't spend time talking about it here because that's not what you're here for. But this is a really, really special team. And this is tenacity and work ethic and sportsmanship and teamwork and never giving up and believing in yourself and trusting each other. And, obviously a lot of stuff that we talk about in coaching. But it's been fucking awesome and I'm really excited. And so I wasn't going to get on here and not mention it. Okay, what we are going to talk about today is exercise and movement and walking, and why, if you are someone who is exercising and moving and walking, or one of those things, or all those things, or maybe is the case, maybe none of those things, why you're struggling to lose weight, the role that it plays in weight loss, the role that it plays in just like your existence as a human being and your quality of life. Because I think one of the number one things I hear out there, I recently started spending a little bit more time on Threads, the social media app. And it's kind of been an interesting place to do a little like market research. It's so different than Instagram. And I'm able to see just what people are posting and asking questions about. And so it's pretty cool. I'm really kind of having my finger on a good pulse of what people are struggling with. And I've always had that, but this I think is just kind of like taking it up a notch. And I'm hearing this from clients too, right? This is not new information, but this idea that like, I'm exercising, I'm moving, and I'm not losing weight. Like, why? I don't understand. Or I'm walking 10,000 steps a day and I'm not losing weight. And this is different than someone. So if you're not exercising, this episode may not feel like as relevant, but there's still going to be some really important takeaways for you. And so there's a couple of things I want to talk about specifically today, but the overall theme around this is going to be the concept of intensity. And what is the level of intensity of your workouts? And in addition to intensity, how kind of frequently are you moving your body? And I'm not even talking about like, are you moving your body every day? Sorry, I had to take a drink. But more within a day. How often are you moving your body? Because one of the number one challenges that I see women have is they're like, I'm exercising, I'm working out, I'm not losing weight. And then I'm like, well, okay, that's awesome. Okay, because I just want to be clear up front. There are so many benefits to exercising outside of weight loss. And I will even go so far as to say that if the number one reason that you are exercising is to lose weight, right there, right off the bat, you've got a problem. One, because exercising is usually for most people not going to be the number one driver of weight loss. It's really going to come more for food, but I think there are definitely some caveats to that. And number two, because then the outcome of your exercise is based on weight loss. So if the scale's not moving, what's your motivation? What's your drive? Why are you going to keep working out, right? So if you are not connected to all the ways in which exercise is beneficial for you mentally, physically, emotionally, it's going to be really, really hard to stick with it. And then that is going to play a role in your ability to lose weight, right? So you kind of then get stuck in this like catch-22 thing right there. So number one, if your number one reason for working out or for doing a specific type of workout is to lose weight, I'm going to raise a red flag on that for the reasons that I just said. Okay, now, that being said, if losing weight is one of the reasons that you are exercising, cool. What are your other reasons? And you need to be clear on them, right? If you and I were having a coaching conversation and I said to you, why are you exercising? Why are you working out? And the only reason you could give me is like, because I want to lose weight. I'd be like, okay, we need to figure out some other reasons for you. I digress a little bit, but that's important. So coming back to the two themes I talk about, right? Intensity and consistency. But when I talk about consistency, I think I actually use the word frequency, and there's a relationship between consistency and frequency. But how often are you moving your body throughout the day, right? Because again, going back to, if you're like, oh, I'm working out, I'm doing a workout 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it is, and I'm not losing weight, if that's the only way that you are moving your body, or even if it's the primary way that you're moving your body and you're not really moving your body around the rest of the day, that's a problem, right? Certainly when it comes to weight loss, but also when it comes to how you feel in your body and how you're using your body. Because if you do a half hour or even a 45-minute workout, and then you sit most of the rest of the day, aside from like, okay, maybe you're running a couple of errands or whatever, you're not, that workout is not burning enough calories to make you lose weight. It's just not. Working out burns fewer calories than you think that it does. You actually don't really know. And your Apple Watch, whatever your Apple Watch is telling you, is completely inaccurate. Certainly whatever your treadmill or your Peloton bike or anything like that is telling you is that's even more inaccurate. The Apple Watch is at least strapped to your body. Whereas the Peloton is just this thing that you're running on and moving on. But all of these have huge, huge margins of error. The Oura Ring tracks calories like hardcore, and that is probably picking up maybe the most accurate data, but there's still a huge margin of error on that stuff. And the reason why this matters so much, right, is if you do a 45-minute workout, your body burns however many calories it burns. Let's say it's 250 calories, right? And then you are sitting the rest of the day. So the rest of the day, your body's kind of like at baseline. That 250 calories is really not going to be enough to move the needle over time for weight loss. Is it enough to move the needle in terms of building strength? Definitely could be, because we're not talking about calories and we're talking about the actual movement that you're doing and the strength you're building, right? Is it enough to improve some of your cardiovascular conditioning depending on what you're doing? Yes, definitely could be. So that's why I'm saying there's so many other benefits to it, in terms of like, the mental health benefits and moving and, all the different like, the boost to all the different like neurotransmitters that you get from exercise, right? There's so many benefits to it that you are from those 2, 3, 4 to 5 half hour, 45-minute workouts, benefits you are getting. And so that's why you need to be really clear on like why you're doing these workouts aside from just trying to lose weight. But one of the questions I would ask you is, how long have you been doing that workout? Because some people kind of tend to get in workout ruts. And I was talking to someone recently who's like, yeah, I've been doing the same workout for like a year and a half. She goes to a gym and it's like kind of one of these like circuit workouts. And that's awesome. She's telling me, she's like, I have gotten so much stronger, right? So there's a lot of benefits to that. And she's also really struggling with her weight. And there's a lot of pieces to this. But one of the things she mentioned is, this idea of, do I need to change up my workouts? And here's the thing. Our bodies adapt because that's what they do. That's what they're designed to do. They adapt to what we give them and they adapt to what we don't give them. So if you are doing the same workout, whether you go for the same half-hour walk 3 times a week, or you're doing the exact same strength training workout 2 or 3 times a week, or you're doing the same circuit workout or Peloton bike ride, whatever it is, if you're kind of doing the same thing all the time, and you've been doing that for a while, and it certainly doesn't need to be a year, I would say probably even after a couple of months, your body's adapted to that. It's gotten used to it, and you are going to need to change a couple of things about it, right? And this is where intensity comes in. And this is not like, oh, you need to like go balls to the wall now in order to get the needle to move. No, because again, you're already getting a lot of benefits from that workout. But if you are hitting a wall and you have gained weight, right? And so you are really wanting to lose weight. I'm going to do a quick caveat sidebar here. If you are someone who is like 5 or 10 pounds away from the weight they want to be at, this is probably less directed at that in terms of the weight loss piece of things. Because again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. When you are 5 to 10 pounds away from where you think you want to be, it's not where your body wants to be, it's where your brain wants to be, is much, much harder to lose that weight. And what you might need to do in order to lose the weight might be totally out of alignment with your values when it really comes down to it. And that the role of exercise in that is huge, right? This is more for like if someone who has gained 15, 20, 25, 30 plus more pounds for whatever reason we don't have to get into, and knows that losing that weight is going to make them a healthier person. This is kind of really the context that I'm speaking about this. And I am thinking about clients I've worked with in the past and a couple clients I'm working with right now and some people in my life that I know and women who've DM'd me, and just a lot of, again, like things that I'm seeing people talking about on threads. And those are like just women, like random women just posting content and asking questions, and you can just see it all there. It's really cool, actually. And so if you've been doing the same thing, your body's going to adapt. And this might sound really frustrating because it's like, oh, I'm walking 10,000 steps a day. Am I supposed to now start walking 15,000 steps a day? Or I've been strength training 3 times a week. I can't work out more than that. I can't work out longer than that. I don't have the time. I totally hear you. And no, I'm not saying you need to go from walking 10,000 steps to 13,000 steps. Because yes, obviously time, energy, and attention are factors that play a huge role in this. But that being said, let's say you've been doing like the same strength training workout for several months. You're not going to continue to get stronger doing that because your body's going to plateau. And so there's easy, and you're also, again, from like a caloric standpoint or a weight loss standpoint, your body's going to have adapted. It's going to have gotten really efficient at using energy, using as little energy as possible to get that workout done, because that's what our bodies are designed to do. They are designed to survive. They are designed to evolve. They are designed to like reproduce and adapt. This is evolution, right? This is science. This is like in our DNA. It's not shit that you can have any control over. And in order to do that, our bodies want to get efficient. This is why, like with fight or flight mode, like you'll hear all blood like rushes to the extremities and your digestive system will kind of start to like shut down or like really go into like a downplay mode. Well, that's because your body needs more resources in other areas. So it's going to give less resources to something it doesn't need and more resources to something it does need, right? That's survival. So when you've done the same workout over and over and over again for several months, your body's gotten really good at it, and it's going to use less and less energy, meaning calories, in order to get that done. And it's not going to continue to get stronger if you're not challenging it. So you're going to need to change up the exercises you're doing. You're going to need to change up the heaviness of the weights that you're lifting. You're going to need to change up maybe like the speed or how rapidly you're moving through it, right? There's a lot of ways to change up your strength workouts. I'm not getting into that in today's podcast. If you guys want to hear that, let me know, and I can certainly do that because I used to coach strength training. Sorry, I had to take another drink. I'm like super thirsty today. I'm drinking Diet Orange Crush in case you're curious, not water. So you're going to need to change it up. And if you are someone who's only, and I just keep using strength training as an example. If you're only strength training, which is, again, I want to be clear that I'm not minimizing that in any way. It's phenomenal and guaranteed you are getting so many benefits. But if you are someone who's wanting to lose weight, who maybe needs to lose weight, or is really uncomfortable in your body because you've gained weight for whatever reason, whether it's perimenopause or emotional eating or dysregulated eating or stress or lots of different reasons that we gain weight, and you're like, I know that I'm not in a good place right now. Again, that's kind of the context in which I'm talking about weight loss for this particular purpose. That workout is not enough movement throughout the day, right? The just being blunt about this, humans need to be moving their bodies throughout the day. Doing a half-hour workout, a 40-minute workout, phenomenal, lots of benefits. Also, we do need more than that. And if you are struggling with weight loss, this is something you're going to need to look at. And this is something you do in baby steps, right? This is not me saying, oh, like all the shit out there on the internet, get your strength work in, get your 10,000 steps, get your 150 grams of protein, and go to bed at 9 o'clock, and don't scroll social media, and don't forget to meditate, and don't forget to eat your greens, and don't forget to do all this shit. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you are struggling right now with your weight, and you feel like you are doing all the things and nothing is moving, you need to be, and if you're not exercising, that's a separate topic. But if you are exercising, you need to be looking at, how long have I been doing this workout for? What's the intensity? How else am I moving my body throughout the day? I'm not saying you need to go from getting 3,000 or 4,000 steps to 10,000 steps. Could you go from 3,000 or 4,000 steps to 6,000 to 7,000 steps? Can you get in short 5 or 10 minute walks, right? How can you get in some of that movement? Can you get up in the morning and do a 10 or 15 minute walk? Can you go, days are super long right now, right? Let's use the summer to our advantage. Can I go for a 10 or 15 minute walk at night, right? Looking at where and how can I get more movement in through the day? Now, like I always talk about, you're not just going to find time for that. The time has to come from somewhere. It's another separate episode. You can see why. You can listen to these podcast episodes and be like, oh my God, that makes total sense. I'm not doing that. I need to do that. And you listen to the episode and you're like, that makes so much sense, but then you don't follow through on it. And the reason you don't follow through on it isn't because you don't want to. It isn't because you don't care. It's not because you're lazy. It's because it takes a lot of steps in order to follow through on this stuff. I'm not going to lie. I'm just being honest with you. It does. And that's why I'm a coach. That's why I'm a behavior change coach, because it's very difficult to follow through on this stuff in the long term. And by long term, I even mean for more than like a week or two, in the way that you need to get the results that you want, right? So if you're saying to yourself, oh my God, I am working out, but like, I know I'm only getting 4,000 or 5,000 steps a day. I know I need to be moving more throughout the day. Sorry, that was showy. How the fuck am I going to do that? I'm in the office. I'm driving my kids around. I got to cook dinner. I'm driving carpool, all that shit. There's no time. I hear you. We have to figure out where we're pulling that from. And you're going to do it step by step. That's a separate process. So I just want to mention that, right? Like, it's not you. It's not that you don't care. It's not that you don't want it. It's that you don't have the resources or the skills to be able to figure out how you're going to do this. That's what I'm here for. If you want the help, right? If you want to really be able to follow through on this. So thinking about and looking at, how often am I exercising? How long have I been doing that workout? What is the intensity, right? These are the questions I want you to be asking yourself, and thinking through. Again, if you're wanting to lose weight, if you're stuck, if nothing's moving, then how am I moving throughout the day aside from walking, aside from doing whatever exercise I'm doing? Okay, on the flip side of this, and this is, I'm going to share kind of some personal anecdotes with this. If you're not doing any form of like more intense exercise, and let's say you are walking and let's say you are someone who's getting 10 to 12,000 steps a day and your weight is not moving and you're like, what the fuck? I'm walking 12,000 steps a day. How is this possible? Again, if you've been doing that for a while, your body's adapted. Whatever level of intensity, your body adapts. So if you're low intensity, your body adapts. If you're high intensity, your body adapts, right? And so that's why things need to change. And it's not this idea of like, oh, you got to keep your body guessing. This isn't like you need to be changing it every day or every week. But this is why like most good strength training programs will swap every 4 weeks. Partly for this reason, partly so that you don't get bored, partly so that you're making sure that you're, strength training in a really well-rounded way. But this is why, like, if you're working out totally on your own, it sometimes can get tricky and can get frustrating if you don't have kind of like the structure in place of someone who's curating a program for you or whatever it is. And if you're going to a class, like a workout class, then there's really no consistency in that. Like, yes, you're going to a class, which is awesome. And some of those classes might be the same every week. Some gyms are, and some classes. So sorry, you guys. I'm like dehydrated. Clearly, I usually never have to drink this much during a podcast. And some classes are very kind of random. So there's a lot of variability there, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent. And of course, now I'm losing my train of thought on this. But what I was saying is, if you are someone who's walking a lot and you're not getting any outcomes in terms of like body composition, your body's adapted to that. So you might need to change the intensity of your walking. How could you do that, right? You could do that with a vest. You could do that with the speed. You could do that with hills. If you're walking on a treadmill, which I know some of you are going to roll your eyes and complain about, but also like, if you want certain outcomes, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. And the level of that discomfort is where your values come in, right? Are you fucking miserable and you hate this and you dread doing it every single time? Not something you're going to sustain, not in alignment with your values. Or you're like, oh, this kind of sucks. I don't really feel like doing it, but I can do it for half an hour. I know it's going to really benefit me on the back end. Okay, that sounds like a pretty tolerable and appropriate level of discomfort to get an outcome that you want to get. But again, can you use the incline on the treadmill? Can you change the pace? Weighted vests can be good for this, right? And not probably like a 5-pound weighted vest, maybe a little bit heavier. I would say at least probably 10 to 12 pounds. And I've done a whole episode on weighted vests if you're curious about that. But how can you up the intensity? Quick story about this, and I know I've got a podcast episode, and I'll try to remember to link it. Walking was my primary form of exercise for years and years and years. And at a certain point, my body started like gaining weight. And in my brain, I'm like, I don't fucking get it. I'm walking so much. How can I be gaining weight? And and talking to a couple of like friends and other coaches and just really starting to get honest with myself, I'm like, okay, this is not going to be enough anymore. I'm going to have to change things up. And it wasn't that I added more. So I wasn't adding like more time. I was using the time I was already allocating to walking, which was actually a lot. And I was reallocating that into other things, right? That's when I started strength training. I actually dialed back, if you believe it, the number of steps I was doing and started to add in like a weekly short, like 15-minute HIIT workout. So really bumping up the intensity. And I started doing some more, I think this was around the time or close to thereof where we got our Peloton treadmill. And instead of walking outside, I started walking on the treadmill, which was just more intense because I could walk a little bit faster and I could walk on an incline consistently. So, and it over time, this wasn't like, oh, in 3 weeks, I, lost weight, but over time, it absolutely impacted things. And then here's what's really interesting. We got Joey in August of 2024. Izzy had passed away in March, but I did not take her for walks. She was like a quick, like in and out. So because we never went on long walks. She was never into it and whatever, but especially for the last few years of her life, like she was slow, she had arthritis. Like we'd go outside, walk like halfway down the block, pee, poop, come back. That was it. Joey's a doodle puppy, right? This girl needs to move. And I started walking her 3 times a day. Each walk was between 15 and 20 minutes. So you're talking about 45 to 60 minutes of movement that I had no longer been doing. Within 6 weeks, I know I pulled on pants. And I'm like, oh my God, these shorts are fitting differently. Because I was moving my body so much more. And that's not like exercise per se, meaning like I was still, I might still be doing a treadmill workout, walk in the morning, and I was still doing my strength training or whatever it was. This was new movement. I was moving my body during the day in a way I hadn't been before, when previously I basically would have been sitting. I was now walking. For that 45 to 60 minutes spread out over the day, I was walking when I would have been sitting. Now I know 45 to 60 minutes out of the day, it was broken up into 3 chunks, is a lot of time. But if you could do that even once, if you could take 15 to 20 minutes of your day where you are currently sitting and reallocate that towards movement, that is a dial mover, right? And that's how I want you to start thinking about these things, right? Again, the intensity and the frequency of your movement. Because again, I was working out, I was strength training, I was doing some of those HIIT workouts, and like, yeah, there was like a little bit of shift that was happening, but I was getting stronger and I was feeling good. And I was like, I know this is what my body needs. And then it was really when that movement bumped up, but just because of Joey, I wasn't doing those walks to lose weight. But like, again, 6 weeks later, I'm like, whoa. And I was like, wow. I was like, it has to be this. I'm like, there's no way that like it's anything else besides this. And that's not coincidence, right? Yes, it's an anecdotal story. But I've seen this happen with clients, right? I had a client who, again, super sedentary, and she didn't even really have like a big baseline for exercise, like some light strength training at home. And she started adding in like 10, 12-minute walks. At the time, it was really all her body could handle. She had been through a lot of health issues. And so when she would have been sedentary, swapping in that non-movement for movements added up over time, right? And it started to play a role in her losing weight and the scale starting to move. So I think it's thinking about this concept of swapping sitting for moving, right? And when I'm saying moving, I'm really talking about walking, right? Because walking is the most accessible. It's easy. You don't have to be dressed. You're not getting sweaty. These are not workouts. When I'm talking about moving the day, and these aren't, again, these aren't workouts. This is you getting up and going for a 5, 10, a 15-minute workout. If you've got a dog, great. If you don't have a dog, fine. Or maybe you have a dog that doesn't like to go for walks, but like There are places where you can take time that you are spending doing something where you are sitting and reallocate it to movement, because you can also get stuff done. Maybe you can do a phone call. Maybe you can text a friend. Maybe you can like voice memo something for work, right? There are ways that you could quote unquote multitask it, meaning get something done while you're walking. But it's going to take, you're going to have to figure that out, right? And again, that goes back to like breaking this down into all kind of the component pieces. But bumping up your walking and moving more frequently throughout the day, if you are not currently doing that, is a game changer. If you are currently doing that, figuring out how to change up the intensity, either reallocating the time that you're doing to things that have a little bit more intensity to them, like maybe once or twice a week, is also going to play a huge role. And if you're someone who's literally not moving your body at all, well, anything you do is probably going to have a benefit to start. That's kind of, again, that's like a little bit of like a different, I'm not really talking about there. I'm really talking to people who are like, I'm doing all these things, I'm exercising, I'm walking, I'm moving, nothing's happening. That's kind of the specific scenario that I am talking about here. And even more specifically, when you are in your 40s, and especially as you're getting into perimenopause, even though research shows, and you probably gonna be like, wait, that's not true. Your metabolism does not slow down in your 40s and 50s. It doesn't. The research does not show that. That's kind of like a myth and a thing that we just kind of like say to make ourselves feel better. There are hormonal shifts happening that are impacting how your body is storing fat, for sure. Your sleep might be affected. Your stress levels might be affected because the stage of life that you're at, that is going to impact how you store fat and how you lose weight. So yes, there are all these other variables that are impacting how you're gaining weight, how you're able to lose weight, and why the things that you used to do 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago are no longer working. That is real. Like that's, yeah, I hear you. I get it. I feel you. I'm not the same because I've always struggled to lose weight. So like I've never had that, oh, I'll just do this and lose weight kind of thing. Oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, this, I was going to say this stuff. I hate using the word stuff, but sometimes it's just the best word. The intensity of your movement, the frequency of your movement, the amount of your movement, again, as you're in your 40s, late 40s, 50s, late 50s, 60s, and you're in perimenopause, moving into menopause matters a lot. It is a really big lever that if the state of your body you are unhappy with, it's a lever you are going to need to be pulling. And if what you're doing is working in some ways, meaning you're getting stronger, you're improving your mobility, maybe you're having less pain, you're able to like do different things that you want to be able to do, but you also want to lose weight and then it's not moving the needle on that, then you're circling back around to looking at what I've talked about. The intensity, how long have you been doing these things, the frequency of your movement throughout the day, and starting to look and see, okay, where do I need to start sliding? I talked about this concept, kind of sliding some of these like dials a little bit. Did I talk about this in the podcast or to a client? Now I can't remember. But if you think about like an audio engineer board and there's all these different dials and you're kind of sliding each one to get like just the right sound, that's really like a good visual analogy for the work that we do in coaching with food and exercise, right? Because each different slider and each different dial is a different variable that plays a role in the way you're eating and how you feel in your body and how in your food noise, in your body image, in your physical fitness, in your strength, in your weight, in your muscle mass, and all these things. And we're sliding and we're turning all these dials until we figure out just the right combination. So the sound that comes out is just right and it sounds great to you, right? That's kind of like the analogy. So the intensity of your exercise, the frequency of your exercise, the type of your exercise, the length of time that you have been doing this exercise, these are all different sliders and dials that need to be adjusted if you are not moving in the direction you want to go. So how long is this? This is, okay, it's half an hour. Yeah, let's wrap it up, Jordana. Okay, if you want help, if you're listening to this and you're like, this makes total sense, I know I need to do this, but I don't even know how to figure this out, and like, I know I'm going to listen to this and like 5 days from now, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, or I'm going to be frustrated that like I know I should do it, reach out to me. We can talk about coaching options. I have several ways to work together in time and energy in attention and in finances. So there are options to find something that will work for you and give you the support that you need in a way that works for your life. So thanks for listening. Thank you guys for being here. If you've got questions, reach out. I'm here. More next week.